Hello everyone. I recently hit 1,000 hours in Pavlov, and after reevaluating my life choices, I thought, why not use some of the knowledge I've got in this 1,000 hours and, help people out a little bit. Now, this isn't going to be one of those guides that are just filled with super obvious stuff like swapping to your pistol is quicker than reloading and, aim for the head and Family Guy was never that good actually, you were just young. This is going to be stuff that even if you've had a pretty long time playing the game, you may still not know these things. I know with a lot of these things, I run into players in games all the time that miss them, and it can get a little annoying, so yeah, here you go. I'm going to split this video into different categories, just general tips for specific game modes, so if there's, one thing you're more interested in than the other, then I'll put chapters so you can skip to whatever one you're interested in. Okay, first tip, fast reloads. This is something that most people probably know by now, but I have seen a few players still be surprised you can do it in game. With some guns in the game, you can avoid pulling out the mag on your own and just use a new mag to knock the old mag out of place. I'll put a video of it up here. It could be quite useful in fairly tense situations, but again, not every gun does this, only a few. The next general tip is just listening for footsteps. Footsteps in this game are really, really loud. I don't think people realise how loud they actually are. So if you're playing a more competitive game mode, it really is worth your time just sort of stopping and waiting and listening, and you will know if someone's around you unless they're standing still, basically. And to go along with that, I cannot stress enough how annoying it is when people don't realise how loud they're being. If you're playing a competitive game mode like SND, Escape from Pavlov, or Push, or something like that, if you're just sprinting 24/7, you're probably going to get killed a lot. People are probably waiting around corners and they can hear you from half a mile away, so all I'd say is if you're in the enemy's vicinity, just, quiet down a bit, maybe crouch. One small thing I've noticed is you can be extremely silent if you move sideways. I don't know why this is, but if you walk slowly and walk sideways, you don't really make loud noises at all. It's a weird thing I've noticed, but hey, it works. So the next tip is how to spot a glitch in TTT. I still see some people who don't know how to do this. This isn't really obscure knowledge, but you really should know how to do this by now. Basically, a glitch in TTT is somebody who is pretending to be a traitor. All the traitors see a T above their head, but they're not actually a traitor, they just gotta sort of figure out who the traitors are by, pretending to be one, basically. Now, for the traitors, it's actually very easy to spot who the glitch is because their name doesn't show up as red in the menu, and you also can't see the red icon through walls. I've got some footage on screen now of how it actually looks in-game. As you can see, this guy, I forget his name, but you can see him on screen. He has a red T icon above his head, but it disappears when I go around a wall. I also can't see his name in red on the menu, like with my other traitors. So that's how I knew he was the glitch. Come with me. I know you're the glitch. I know what you are. Another tip that isn't generally just for TTT, but I only ever really see people do Russian roulette in TTT, is the fact that you can actually win Russian roulette every single time. Now, the only caveat here is that you need to be the one holding the gun. So essentially how you would do this with a fresh revolver, that's the only thing, the revolver needs to be kind of a fresh one, is you undo the chamber, and then you put a bullet in this bottom left one here, that one. And what people don't realise is that usually with a revolver, if you just, flip it back in normally, then obviously the chamber's going to spin. But if you actually hold down the button you press to make it, do that, if you hold that button down, it doesn't spin. So what happens with a fresh revolver, if you put it in the bottom left, it's going to fire. Now, when you put it in next, you need to put it in the next one clockwise. So I'll put it in this top left one. Shoot. Again, clockwise. Shoot. As far as push is concerned, this one is so important and I rarely see players use it, and it's when to actually spawn. So let's say you've just blown up an objective in push, but then you die, or maybe your team is about to blow up and you die. Here's what you do. Don't respawn right away. There's a sound effect queue on basically every push map. It's not on every one, you'll have to sort of trial and error it. But on the majority of push maps, there's a little music cue. I'm going to put a clip of it here. And what that music cue means is that the spawns have changed. If you spawn in before that music cue plays, you'll go to the old spawn and you'll have a long way to walk. If you wait, you'll get a nice early spawn and maybe you can even get to the next objective before the enemy. Another thing with push that I see some people mess up, not as many though, is that tickets don't actually stop at 1. I often see people say, oh, we only have 1 ticket left, nobody spawn, nobody spawn. But that's not actually how it works. When the tickets say 1, that just means that 1 more person can spawn in, and then that's your last ticket. If anyone spawns in when the ticket counter says 0, that's when the game will end. Here's another thing that I see people mess up all the time, and this isn't exclusive to push lobbies, but push lobbies are the most popular 24-player lobbies, so it's mostly push, and it's the fact that voting isn't really built for those lobbies. You may have seen some push games where people start a vote kick, the green bar fills all the way up with votes and nothing happens. And I see a lot of people get confused by this, and the reason why is because that little voting HUD, that is built for 10-player lobbies. There's a reason there's only 10 squares there. What you're not seeing is the fact that it is actually taking all 24 players on the server into account. And if you know basic maths, 10 is less than half of 24. So while you can't see it, there is actually an invisible counter going on. So you essentially need 2 more votes than the actual HUD fills up. Now this one may seem obvious, but I rarely see players actually put it to use in game. And it's just teamwork, especially in competitive game modes like Push or SND. Push especially, really. Teamwork will make the difference between which team wins and which team loses. Now, obviously, not every player you run into in Pavlov will even have a mic, and even if they do, there's no guarantee they're going to want to collaborate or talk. So what I think is a good idea to do is find people who you play with regularly. Maybe even join a Discord server of a certain VR YouTuber who has lots and lots of lovely, intellectual people who love to play Pavlov and win games. This one won't really help your gameplay that much, but it is fun, and I see a lot of players not know you can do it. But in Hidden, you can actually taunt the players as the Hidden by pushing down the right thumbstick. That'll make the Hidden do some sort of voice line. You can't control what it is, but it's fun to mess around with people.
I'm right here. Oh, none of you will survive.
Come at me, bitch! Come at me, bitch! Hey, Declan! You're a...
Another thing I see people not realize in Hidden is that your percentage of being the Hidden next is actually shown. If you open the menu and look at the score might seem a little weird at first, but that is actually how much of a chance you have of being the Hidden next. It goes up based on how long it's been since you've been the Hidden, how much damage you do to the Hidden, stuff like that. Next time you're playing, you'll know what your chances are of being the Hidden next. So yeah, that's essentially it for now. That's not all the things that I could have said in this video, but I have to wrap it up fairly quickly. So if you want more, just let me know in the comments and I'll happily make a part 2 of this or whatever. If I missed any, feel free to comment yourself, because I reckon if you have a good amount of hours on Pavlov, you probably would have already known most of this stuff. And I'm kind of curious to know what I don't know. So, if you have any tips, leave them in the comments.